All right, well, good morning and welcome to our CAMSC Diversity Procurement Fair virtual conference. My name is Hugh Lawson. I'm the Director of Business Development at Staples, our branded merchandise division. I'll be moderating this session. I'm pleased to be joined by our esteemed panelists who will introduce themselves shortly. But just to give you some background information about the purpose and the narrative of this panel, export panel, with the recent signing of CUSMA, as well as a renewed focus on onshoring, a new addition to the procurement fair, the Export Forum was created to kick off the conference. Suppliers are motivated and encouraged when they hear others who have successfully navigated crossing borders. Having others share success stories and best practices, in addition to hearing from global affairs on the resources support available, will demystify becoming export ready and act as a big boost to CAMSC suppliers considering export as part of future business plans. So if we could just go to the next slide, please. I would like to introduce to you our esteemed panelist, Edet Umoafia of ABC Technologies. Good morning, Edet.
Good morning.
Awesome. And we have Mr. James Wong of Triplewell.
Good morning,
sir. And also as well, we're pleased to be joined by June Fontaine of Global Affairs Canada. Morning, June. Morning, and she's going to be joining us remotely via phone. Morning, awesome. Everyone. So what we're going to do next is we're going to have our panelists do a brief introduction of themselves and the companies that they represent. So I'll kick it off. Next slide, please. Staples, as many of you know of us through the stores, our office supplies, but a lot of people didn't know that we're actually the largest logoed merchandise, brand merchandise company, not only in Canada and the United States, but the whole world. And your organization, whether it's promoting a brand, celebrating a milestone, recognizing your associates and employees, or just building awareness about an initiative you have on the go, brand merchandise is a perfect extension for that, because brand impressions on logoed merchandise outlast any TV, print, or billboard campaigns. So we're here at your service, and we're proud to be partners with CAMSC as we support and encourage and celebrate diversity and inclusion in the supply chain space. So I'm going to hand over the floor to Mr. Edet Umoafia to introduce himself and ABC Technologies.
Thank you, Hugh. My name is Edet Umoafia. I'm the senior buyer for ABC Technologies, formerly used to be known ABC Group. I'm in charge of tooling, injection, blow molds, assembly equipment, robotic. ABC Technology is one of the world's largest automotive system. We manufacture components, all our products mostly for OEMs, and few items for what we call aftermarket. We were started, or the company was founded in 1974. At this time, we have over close to 8,000 employees globally, and we are located over 36 locations globally: US, Mexico, Canada, China, Poland, Spain, Brazil, Japan, and Germany. We have almost 6 different business units. We talk about the air induction, the paint system that we can blow mold the part and paint it. Anything injection and automotive, ABC is the one to call.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And if any, maybe we could give our audience a brief introduction via slide as to their locations throughout the planet. So thank you. Thank you very much, producer. Next up, Mr. James Wong, maybe if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and Triplewell.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Hugh. Much appreciated. So I got to the office today in a state of panic because I realized that I didn't bring a mask to work. And then I thought, oh, well, you know what? I'm okay. This is a video conference. I can breathe all over the computer screen all I want, and everybody will be okay. So this is actually, one of the first, because, we're so used to dealing face to face. But yeah, that's my story for this morning. My name is James Wong, and I represent Triplewell Products. We were established in 1988. So this makes it our 32nd year of business and counting. So we have offices and manufacturing facilities in both Canada, Toronto, and China as well. And our core businesses, if you actually want to move to the next slide, if you can, it's already up, is we build, produce, manufacture automotive interiors. So armrests, seat backs, seat cushions, headrests, etc. And we also do foam injection of the headrest parts, and it's all just in time. The second component of our business is we are a garment manufacturer. Specifically, we make winter jackets and functional wear. And, the third component of our business is we actually introduce novel, customized machinery and equipment and innovations directly onto production lines, be it ourselves for our own manufacturing facilities as well as for other external clients as well. Now, in addition to all these, as a result of the state of the pandemic, we've actually retooled. So we've actually become a producer, manufacturer, supplier of PPE products, specifically masks and medical gowns throughout this pandemic. So thanks for giving the opportunity to us to introduce ourselves here.
All right, no problem. Learned a lot in the last little, elevator pitch. Quite a diversified portfolio of services and solutions. So that's awesome. So next up, we have June Fontaine of Global Affairs Canada. Hi, June. Are you still out there?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Awesome.
Hi, thank you, Hugh. Thanks, CAMSC, for the opportunity to have me here today. Hello, everyone. Hello again. My name is June Fontaine, and I'm a trade commissioner based in Toronto, Ontario, responsible for consumer products and e-commerce. I am also the champion for the Indigenous entrepreneurs for the Ontario region, with a focus on supporting Indigenous business that exports. As you may be aware that the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service, our AKA is the TCS. If you see PCS all over the place, it's the commercial branch of Global Affairs Canada. We are a federal department. Our mission is to advance Canada's commercial interests around the world. We have been serving Canadian companies for 125 years. We provide free services to export-ready Canadian companies through a network of 6 region offices in Canada and 161 offices abroad. In terms of export support, we provide key market insights and practical advice to help Canadian companies gain business insights in foreign markets. We help Canadian companies find new opportunities globally. We connect Canadian companies with key contacts in their target markets, and we do try our best to resolve business problems for Canadian companies while doing business in foreign markets. Our status shows that on average, Canadian companies using the Trade Commissioner Service, the TCS, export 20% more than those who have not yet taken advantage of our services. So if you are already a client of the Trade Commissioner Service, we look forward to continue to work with you. If you have not yet discovered our service, I would encourage you to visit our website at www.tradecommissioner.gc.ca. On the website, you'll be able to find all the information about our services, the type of clients, the type of company we work with, available funding programs, and also the contact of your respective regional offices. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all from
I actually have a good question for you. My mom she's 79 and she's retired, and she's been biding her time and filling up her schedule with her sewing machine, making masks for her family, and they're starting to take off. So if she wanted to look at building an empire overseas with better export efficiency and funding, can she come to you and look at maybe securing some seed money to expand operations?
Well, it really depends on how much she's been making for last year. The funding that we have, there's a threshold, like a revenue requirement for the funding.
Yeah, she made about 4 masks this weekend.
Does that
qualify?
I can help her working. Towards her goal.
Yeah, okay. She can help her scale up. Awesome.
Yes,
So this is great, right?
Yeah.
So this is awesome because our panelists have been very succinct and very economic with their time. So usually when you host these panels and you got more long-winded people that are more likely going on a tangent like myself, we tend to run behind time. So no, this is great. So what we're going to do next is we have some questions for our esteemed panelists where we want to leverage and pull out their thought leadership and infinite knowledge on this discussion topic. So I'm just going to jump right into it and keep the train on the tracks and keep it on time to get into the station at 10:15. So my first question is directed to Edet. So Edet, you ready?
Of
You're looking
course.
very astute and stately in your custom bespoke suit there. So kudos to you. So my question to you is, trade is a major factor in building and or maintaining a strong Canadian economy. What role does trade have in production of ABC products in its Canadian and American plants?
Thank you very much, Hugh, for the question. When we are sourcing for commodities as a buyer or procurement team, we have to consider at least 4 different levels of sourcing aspect. Looking at the commodity management, and you consider cost management strategy, supply management strategy, that you try to balance it with what's really the impacts, the input contents before you can, should you be buying products here in North America or should you be going offshore? But if you are going offshore or any other related countries or globally as we are today, you have to look at what are the cost drivers, what are the commodities, or who are the commodity drivers. So meaning in the sense of who are the manufacturers or who are the producers, and adding into effect of what will the effects be, like what we recently entertained from the U.S. government that added some tariff on some of the products that's being imported, and looking at the content of cars manufacturers, all the OEMs, when I mean OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, Ford and the rest, and other car manufacturers globally. We have a lot of huge integrated components that is not only from North America or from Europe, but you try to constitute those and evaluate them and see how feasible, because when these came in with the tariff, there were a lot of effects on how to manage that extra cost that was not budgeted for or even added during the course of quoting your customer. So you have to look at those risk management and consider it bringing the product home or trying to source locally. Those are some of the things that really, when you talk about the geopolitical situations, or because if you do it here or after bringing the job here, you have to think of that you are going to boost your economy and employment factor, And now the cost of labor in some of these low-cost countries are growing higher because they are now attending to safety. They are looking at their employees. The wages are all going higher. And all those things are a factor that played before you can consider where you want to situate or how it affects your type of business.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Awesome. Next question is directed towards James and Edet. Going to give Edet a little time to catch his breath, and we'll pose the question to Mr. Wong first. So, what are the challenges of using Canadian suppliers in your plants outside of Canada? As a supplier, how should one prepare themselves for doing work for you outside of Canada? And James, the question is steered more your way along the lines of time and freight.
Yeah, very good question, Hugh, and thanks for that. Primarily, I guess, with the state of the pandemic being what it is, suppliers outside of Canada need to be obviously very, very nimble and efficient with their lead time, because they have to factor in the fact that due to the pandemic, freight costs are a lot higher. And number two, the time it takes to expedite, whether you want to go by air or by ocean, there's an additional time that needs to be allotted. So typically by air freight, back in the day, pre-pandemic, things coming in from overseas can get here in about 2 days. Now, you got to give it about a week. Well, that's one instance. The second instance would be bringing in items from over via ocean freight. 4 weeks end to end was typically a sufficient amount of time. Now you're looking at between 5 or 6 weeks. So suppliers really, really need to be cognizant of that and factor in that additional time. The other thing that's of critical importance is the cost as a result of any additional duties that that have to be paid as a result of bringing in a product from overseas. That's an additional cost that needs to be considered in addition to the extra time involved. And hopefully now with the pandemic, we're sort of slowly working our way out of it so that things hopefully will return back to normal in the very, very near future. Thank you.
Okay. I have a personal, just a question, just because knowing how time and freight has greatly affected our ability to deliver on time due to our, just the challenges of this pandemic. When do you foresee that time and freight will get back to a normal KPI or pre-COVID KPIs?
I guess, initially we obviously have to look at, the cases going down. I think that's of paramount importance in terms of going back to sort of a normal lead time, because with, the plants in Asia being like manufacturers of the world, it doesn't matter whether they're sending to Canada or the US or affected countries where the COVID cases are going sky high right now. Everybody's busy building products and everybody's busy shipping products to the point that there is a backlag, and that will get better when the virus is contained.
Oh, okay. That totally makes sense. Thank you. Hey, now that I gave James that extra question so you can really catch your breath. So I was buying you time to regain your composure. But our question to you is more along the lines of preparation for payment challenges.
Okay. Yeah. In automotive industries, as we know, we have to consider a kind of medium-term and long-term implication of procurement, because when you are sourcing suppliers globally as we are, you have to try to look at the implication, the sustainability of these suppliers that you are, maybe you are potential or you are working with at that moment. And in terms of automotive also, the requirements are very, very tight when you talk about quality of delivering the product or services, whether you are driving a truck, delivering the goods, you cannot go and except some kind of emergency that you can drive in, and when we say just in time, the truck will show up and then cannot deliver the goods, and then the supplier ship the goods out, and then is not delivered to the customer. So all these deliverables, there are a lot of quality intent that has to be considered, that whoever that you are choosing as your source will be able to meet or exceed those requirements so that you don't fail your customer. Should there be any charge that being imposed on you as we are tier 1, we have to pass that cost provided it's not affected coming from our own side of production. And the third item is the payment terms to consider, because when we are making products as a system supplier to any of our OEMs, majority of them doesn't pay till what we call PPAP approval, which is in layman terms will be when you start to see car being ready to go to the dealer's station or service centers. So that's the implication that as a tier 1, you have to manage that finance, that you source the product, you manufacture the product or the services, and then you send it to the customer before, after they pay you, that you can consider. So we have to transfer the same logic of payment terms to our suppliers, that this is what we are doing. Otherwise, tell us how much will it cost, like we talk about finance costs. We try to balance it in such a way that we are not running short of or not making money after the whole project is being finished. So these are some of the key things that we have to let our suppliers know, that there are a lot of implications on how to handle and manage it properly. Okay.
So from my own personal curiosity, when you say the PPAP,
yeah,
so it's essentially literally when the vehicles are in the dealership lot when payment is issued.
Now,
what is that window of time? Is that 90 days? Is that 120 days?
No, we try to right now. We are paying our customers, our suppliers, 60 days payment terms.
Okay.
But when we are looking at the program, we will tune it up, because the product will not be ready for the customer to start to build the car. That's what we call that on the PPAP level. And when they start to build the car, that your component is suitable, adequate to go into production, that's when they consider that at least you have fulfilled that requirement. So
I see.
That's when the kick-in of payment term will be some 47 days, and some will be 60 days as the contract was originated.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to have to give you another breather again. Next question, and we're going to bring June into the gauntlet, followed by James and then Edet. Yeah. And the question is, there was considerable talk about limiting the auto production between countries when drafting the trade agreements, such as the new CUSMA trade deal this year. At the time, it was very concerning. What will be the impact on our automotive industry sector? And June, your question is geared towards new benefits and certification.
Hi, thank you. It's actually really good timing. The United States-Mexico agreement, we call it CUSMA, entered into force just July 1st, 2020. The new agreement replaces the old NAFTA, but the CUSMA maintains NAFTA's tariff-free market access for goods traded between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. And the new modernized, we call the modernized agreement, has like 34 chapters, 12 more than the old NAFTA, that help North America move forward and remain resilient and competitive. I would say that the CUSMA has actually strengthened the rules of origin for the automotive industry and includes provisions that could cement Canada's manufacturing competitiveness in the sector. The new, for example, the new automotive rules of origin includes elements that will require a 75% regional value content in order to incentivize production and sourcing in North America. Well, there's also a labor value content requirement. The labor value content requirement means that a significant percentage of the value of a vehicle must be produced by workers earning the equivalent of at least $16 US per hour. This provision has the potential to improve Canadian automotive manufacturing's competitiveness compared to that of Mexico. Also with CUSMA, the process of certification of origin is simplified. Unlike NAFTA, under CUSMA, there's no prescribed format, and the agreement only requires a set of minimal data elements that can be captured on something like an invoice. Also, the certification of origin itself, it may be completed by either the exporter or the producer or the importer. Furthermore, the certification of origin may be completed, signed, and submitted electronically. So from the Global Affairs Canada point of view, there are like key resources for CUSMA on our website. If you go to our website, www.international.gc.ca, you will find all the resources, including we have including between the U.S. and Mexico, there are 19 Trade Commissioner Service officers. And if there are questions on the text itself, we have a North American trade policy team that will be able to answer your questions. If you're wondering what is the tariff of your product, we have a tarifffinder.com. It's like Canadian Tariff Finder, where you go in, you plug in the HS code of your product, and it will show it's either free or it will show the tariff rate of your product. But if you have questions in terms of the rule of origin related to CUSMA, you can send those questions to our, we have a tariff team that's able to answer questions with related to the CUSMA rule of origin. And also, I would say that I believe that mostly the producer, the manufacturer, either they have a strong logistics team or they work with a good service provider. So if you are really like new to this, the rule of origin, the tariff, what is my tariff, and in our office at the Ontario Region office, we also maintain a short list of comprehensive, with a short list of logistics service provider with a comprehensive knowledge on the old NAFTA and now CUSMA. So please feel free to reach out to either to me or my colleagues, and we'll be able to help you with it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. So this has given James some time to catch his breath after the last question. With regards to the CUSMA agreement, sorry, you wanted to add to that?
That's for the tariff effects. As automotive for Tier 1, we were really impacted on that because when the tariff came, a 25% tariff imposed for all products or automotive components coming from China. We were really impacted on that. And the same thing that likewise, you guys must have heard about the steel and aluminum issues that U.S. imposed on Canada. So all that's the content that we use to make both tooling or equipment, assembly, and ship it across the border. ABC has to hire a consultant because the speed of the changes was a little too much for any of our custom team to handle. So, and it was changing day to day. You cannot really, they release information by 7 or 8 in the morning. By 4 o'clock, there will be another change of section, just like what June just mentioned. So things like that, something that our team have to work diligently, that you cannot miss anything, take anything out. Custom tariff or duties doesn't work that way. Trying to manage that HS code to meet all the tariff sections that are being imposed was really not only a matter of that ABC has to, because some of our components are either what we call direct source. OEM will be telling us or source those products because of the volume of usage, and assign those suppliers to us to manage. So for you bringing it in as one of your components, you have to be able to, so trying to ask for exclusion on some of those things are not easy to tabulate and calculate and send it back. What content is your OEM? Are they willing to participate, or they are just going to say it's cost of doing a business? So automatically, it wasn't an easy thing, adding a 25% plus to the being a tariff, and the 3% is usually the fee attached to. So you look at a 28% of expense that you are adding to the cost of your product or what you are manufacturing.
Okay, thank you. And James, with regards to this question, how does it, what's the relevance or I guess context of it being a slow market with regards to the timing of this agreement?
Okay, I guess with the USMCA, unfortunately, once again, I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but with the state of the pandemic, unfortunately, it has had a lot of negative impacts and consequences on all businesses. And at the start of us reopening after the lockdown, I think even the OEMs were sort of scratching their heads and trying to figure out, okay, how much volume do we need to build? So we started off really, really slow, and now we're just starting to pick up. But once again, there are a lot of uncertainties with this market, and how long this virus will be with us, how long it will last. So we obviously, as companies, as employees, as employers, we all have to brace ourselves, expect the best, but prepare for the worst. One factor obviously being, we cannot expect everything to return back to normal, at least not right away. Everyone's going to be taking baby steps in terms of, getting our footing back, especially in hard-hit industries. So one of the ways that everybody has to be more nimble and more dynamic in terms of this trade agreement is build high-value products that are just in time locally to minimize the impact of the tariffs due to the trade agreement. Build low-value goods from overseas. And that's the one thing that we've been doing in terms of minimizing the impact of the tariffs in terms of bringing in, overseas manufactured items with the key in mind being build low value outside of Canada, build high value or just in time within Canada. Thanks, Hugh.
Okay. No, thank you. That's a great strategy. So we are I guess, closing in on the 20-minute mark of our question and answer session. So we're in the home stretch with about 10 minutes left. Got a handful of questions for June and James and Edet to wrap it up. And I'm going to start off with June. Quick question, somewhat quick answer. Based on the free trade agreements, what opportunities do you feel are available to Canadian suppliers with regards to the free trade agreements, freight, foreign government procurements?
Okay, for Canada, the main goal of the trade agreement is to actually reduce barriers to Canadian exporters, protect Canada's interests, competing abroad, and also enhance rule of law in the FTA partner countries or country. Well, I think for the FTA, the first thing you can think of is the tariff elimination for goods. And also, you will have improved access for trade in services and government procurement. Canada currently has 14 free trade agreements enforced with 51 countries. Canada is actually the only G7 country with free trade links to all of the other partners. We just briefly discussed about the CUSMA, which enters into force in July 1st. The other two free trade agreements that I would like to really briefly mention today is CETA and CPTPP. There's a lot of acronyms, but CETA is the Canada-European Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. A lot of people call them Canada-Europe Trade Agreement, which is fine, at least as long as you get the idea. The EU contains right now, when we signed the agreement, it contains 28 member states now with Brexit, but there's still 27 member states there with a market of more than 500 million consumers. So on the day that CETA entered into force, 98 of the EU tariff lines were duty-free for Canadian goods. An additional 1% will be eliminated over a then 7 years period, but we're already into it's the entry into force in 2017, so there's another 4 years, and then 99% of the tariff rate will be eliminated. And the CETA is actually helps facilitate the ease of doing business in the EU market, and including the have access to government procurement with all the European, it's the different levels of the European government. And the other free trade agreements I want to just briefly mention is the CPTPP. It's kind of mouthful, but it's the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, which entered into force on December 3rd, 2018. So with this trade agreement, there are 11 countries, including Canada, in this FTA. It actually opened doors to 500 million consumers.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question, as we have about 7 minutes left. This is for Edet. During COVID-19, what were the gaps identified in the supply chain, and how is ABC working with its suppliers to bridge these gaps to mitigate these issues in the future? And I guess one of the thoughts around that is, would it lead to the production of more auto parts in Canada?
Thank you very much again. Yes, it was a big lesson that everybody is still going through at this time. It was what you consider as performing a risk assessment that our supply chain management team, we are doing it right now. But at the same token, majority of what we source as commodities are sometimes driven by your customer, because if you have considered some of these electronic components, majority of them are from offshore. So China, Korea, and Malaysia and India, you can see them. But nevertheless, it was shocking that when we were trying to source for all these PPEs, our team were spending nearly 15, 18 hours a day trying to conduct and working with the time zone, with our Chinese suppliers that we are trying to work with. And at the same time, we did, for our product, or my commodity and the rest of our commodity buyers, we have to send a survey to all our suppliers to ask them for how they feel, where they stand, because it was a kind of controlling, trying to know, rather than you being shy at the end, not knowing that you will not be able to get your product to build your component or the assembly part that we have to build. So all these things are things that we are considering doing a risk assessment and making sure that you have capable local manufacturers who can still come in. Is not the price, but looking at the continuity of your sourcing. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Just knowing we have about 4 minutes left, I have 2 remaining questions, but I'm going to focus on one, June, for you, just to just wrap up the question session. And if time permitting, during Q&A, I may throw the second question your way. James, you are not being ignored, because actually the audience, you're very popular with the audience, and there's a couple of questions that are geared towards you for the Q&A, so you won't be silent for too much. Yeah, so
all right, thank you.
no problem. You're basically the Justin Bieber of our panel, the hard problem.
Pressure. I'm starting to sweat.
So June, last question. Our conference theme is Insights to Innovation. The traditional wisdom declares that companies that have their sights on export markets must first become innovators in their domestic markets. Innovation will give them the competitive advantage required to succeed in export markets. And we want to know what your thoughts are about that, especially in regards to CAN Export Innovation Funding.
Okay, well, Canada is really a world leader in science, technology, and innovation, and it is recognized as one of the most innovative and competitive economies in the world. Well, with the Global Affairs Canada, the Trade Commissioner Service, there are 4 funding programs to support different type of export assistance. One of them is, like you mentioned, is called the CAN Export Innovation. It's actually this is provided by us, the Canadian innovators who aim to commercialize technology can access up to $75,000 in funding to establish new R&D collaborations with an identified foreign partner to either co-develop or validate or adapt their technology for commercialization. These funded activities, just to keep in mind that this funding is not going to fund the real R&D, but it will fund the activity to facilitate to get that partnership going with a foreign partner. So right now, well, I would just say it covers like a travel for you to go to foreign markets, but like now all the travel is restricted. But it's also, if you are looking for formalize the agreement, it will fund the legal advice or the legal process of somebody looking at your agreement. It will also like to say funding is not. Travel is not allowed for now, but you can start looking if you're looking for some like a virtual meetings, or if you're looking for like a B2B, it will be able to provide you with that the legal fees and also the adversary kind of role. If you can looking for somebody like with a consulting role, that will also be funded as well.
Okay.
All this,
Awesome.
all this type of information that you can, before you start a project, actually, you can actually contact my colleague just to discuss your project, and then to start to get to know more about what is eligible, what is not, and then kind of start to weigh up how you should approach this new R&D partnership.
Awesome. And your timing is impeccable because later this evening, I'm going to go visit my mom at her condo, and I'm going to talk to her about her mask project and possibly seeing if she can get some CAN export innovation funding for overseas ambitions.
Yeah, give us some time. We'll look into her project.
Okay. Get her up past 4 masks per day. All right. Well, panelists, really great job, phenomenal job with answering these questions. For the audience, I hope it was of extreme value for you. I know I learned a lot, and it has the gears working in my head for sure. What we're going to do next is we're going to go over to Q&A session just for the remaining 15 minutes before we go into break. And I'm going to check the chat room. And as I mentioned before, James, you're quite popular in the chat room. You've really made an impression. Edet, June, you've all made impressions too, but for some reason, they wanted to pose the first couple of questions to James. So
that's
first
good.
one for you. First one, yeah, Edet, you get a break. June gets a breather too. First question, James, is with the upcoming U.S. election, what are the immediate changes that will affect export? Do you see any of your production that was possibly being manufactured overseas being brought back to Canada?
Yeah, I guess I sort of touched upon that, and thank you for that question. Very good question from the audience. I think primarily the strategy doesn't change in that high volume, low value goods can still be made overseas, because there's no way, as Edet knows, he's in the automotive industry, there's no way that we can beat the labor costs in Canada or the U.S. Compared to like China, Vietnam, the Indias, and the Bangladeshs of this world. But having said that, there is a manufacturing place and there is a manufacturing presence in the U.S. and in Canada for locally made goods that can be customized, that have like a higher value or a just-in-time requirement. It will always be there. So, the answer would be you would actually need both.
And I guess with regards to the whole narrative in that question around the impending U.S. elections, do you currently have manufacturing partnerships stateside that you might consider bringing it back into Canada as a result of maybe potential political turbulence?
Right. We don't have a manufacturing presence stateside, but what we do is we manufacture in Canada and export to the U.S. And we don't see that changing. We don't see that changing, especially nowadays. With the need for PPE, it could grow. I mean, it's not a good thing to see people suffering and this virus spreading like crazy. But at the same time, we do want to do a good job supporting them and making sure that they get critical supplies that they need.
Yeah, similar to ABC,
yes.
ABC end up supporting during making the ventilators. So right now we are just joining a division that is going to be supporting medical industry right now.
It's fantastic.
And actually, that's a good segue into the other question for James. It was almost like you and I scripted this behind the scenes. This was actually it almost seems like a direct question and a business opportunity for you, James. The question is, do you have access to level 3 disposable isolation gowns?
Level 3 disposable isolation gowns, we're currently working on a solution right now. Right now, we are actually building both level 1 and level 2. So if there's a need for level 2, We currently supply that. Level 3 is something that we're working on as well. So, whoever that person that asked the question, feel free to reach out to me.
Perfect. And actually, going back to the previous question, maybe we could pose that to Edet as well. With what we're seeing on the horizon from a political climate, or even just the possible second wave, is ABC looking at a strategy of bringing more of its manufacturing overseas back into Canada?
No, we don't. ABC does not operate that way because, as I mentioned, we have a plan in Poland. Depending on the source or who is the customer, and we have on how the business unit and the manufacturing plants, we try to associate the manufacturing and the customer as we are global. We cannot really want to pull and think of, we used to make that in Mexico, we have to bring it to Canada. And now we allow the market to be trying to be free, provided that we are supporting our customer as a tier 1. That's what we look forward to, that you stay closer, or you set your plan closer to your own customer, that you are going to reduce costs of freight, transportation, and should there be any fallout, that you'll be there to protect them and service them properly. So we cross the border in Mexico, like all these goods we are talking about here. We have to learn to understand the implication from Mexico versus coming to U.S. and maybe a transshipment from Canada to Mexico. So you may be passing U.S., but you have to meet all the requirements of crossing the border before you finally get your product to Mexico.
Okay. Well, for those in the audience that have questions, please don't be shy. We still have a little bit of time left, so we could take time for 2 more questions. And while you contemplate submitting one, I'm going to pose a question to June that was actually part of the previous session. June, what is meant by the term export ready? And how can our suppliers get export ready? And when that occurs, what support can they get from Global Affairs, the TCS offices, to take that step?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. Because if you go to our website, you will see we provide this kind of service to the TCS client. I mean, from the TCS point of view, an export-ready company, it's a company that already has a commercialized made in Canada product, services, or technology, or at least have 50% of the Canadian content in the product, service, or technology. The company has a base of sales in Canada. That company also is thinking of export. They also have research and select an export market. And also they have an export plan. And the last but not least is they are serious about putting human and financial resource towards the development of the export plan. I want to mention that is because I want to mention the research and select export market is sometimes when company receives the unsolicited a request or a purchase request for small amount of money from one random country, they think they're okay. Now we're exporting. We're going to export to that country, but they haven't done any research. So what we say is for Canadian companies who want to export, an export plan. You develop an export plan. It's actually, the plan will have information. It would identify your target market, your export goals, and you look at your necessary resources and also an anticipated result. So, an export plan will when you do the exercise of development and export plan, you will actually look at your product and services. You look at a market overview. You look at a market entry strategy. And then you're looking into those regulatory and logistic issues. And then you also assess your risk factors and how you're going to implement that plan. And then what is your financial plan? It's actually when you have a comprehensive export plan, you kind of, it's like you re-know yourself. So sometimes by the end of the export plan, a company will decide maybe we're not ready. So we'll probably wait another time just to when they kind of reassess themselves and say, okay, maybe we're not ready now, but we may be ready in the next 6 months. But for the companies who did all the swap, everything, and said, okay, we have selected the market, we are ready. And then when you, I would just say, because we have 6 regional offices and across Canada, for the companies located in those in the province, you just the relationship building starts with the regional office. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, I cover consumer products and e-commerce. You probably think this has nothing to do with automotive, but we support companies by sectors. So in each and every region office, because automotive is a priority sector, each and every region office will have an automotive trade commissioner. So you start with the automotive trade commissioner at region office, and then we provide, like I said, 4 key services to support your export efforts. These are preparation for international market. We do market potential assessment for you. We will find a qualified contact in the target markets, and we do troubleshooting. In terms of funding programs, I just mentioned the CAN Export Innovation. That's for the Canadian innovators. But the most popular and pertinent funding program for the Canadian companies we call the CAN Export SME. SMEs means small and medium-sized enterprises. So this funding that actually provides direct financial support for companies seeking to develop new market opportunities and markets. So once approved, you have to apply. Once approved, the company can get between $10,000 to $75,000 per application, with activities ranging from, let's say, participating in virtual trade missions, trade fairs, market research, and also marketing tools creation, counseling and IP protection, legal advice, and more.
Okay.
So all this information can be found on our website, or you can contact me for further conversation.
Okay. All right. So we have 3 minutes left. I have one quick question, last question from the audience for you, June, and then I'm going to field a quick rapid fire question to our panelists to wrap up, and then we'll be going to break. So this question is for you, June, in 30 seconds or less. And the question is, as we consider to grow our businesses, would you recommend one region over another for being an easier area to break into trade, given potential foreign regulations and business rules? That's a mouthful, but I'll put you on the clock for 30 seconds. Here we go.
And I didn't get the question. Sorry. What was the question?
They're actually, with regards to trade regulations, possible restrictions, they want to know, is there a particular region that you recommend over another, like just in terms of global trade, to break into those markets? Yes. For export? Okay, so if you are really new, you want to start exporting, you don't have the target market, always look at the market where Canada has a free trade agreement with. Okay. Yeah. That's a good answer. Those are the countries, yeah. All right, perfect. And so last question for each of you. 3 words or less. I'll start off with Edet. I'm going to put you on the spot.
No
As
problem.
we begin this session and discussing the importance of trade and the many trade agreements Canada has in place, please leave us with advice in 3 words that will assist the suppliers in being successful in trade beyond borders. What would be your advice for that success in 3 words or less?
I would say the first thing will be knowing the line of your business. You need to know where you are heading to or what you are trying to accomplish.
So know where you're heading.
And being a solution provider, because you have to service your customer to the best of your ability. And then you have to look at the capability.
Okay, that was 3 sentences. I need 3 words or less from James.
Be positive, be flexible, and keep an open mind.
Okay.
That's it.
June, perfect. June, what do you got to say? 3 words, 5 words or less.
Contact the 3 commissioners.
Perfect, perfect. All right. Well, panelists, thank you. Audience, thank you for the time together. That was incredible. That was of extreme value. Learned a lot, exchanged a lot, heard a lot. We are now going to break. And as you can see by the screen, we have some musical stylings waiting for you. And we also want to give a special shout out to our partner sponsors on the bottom third of the screen who have made this all possible. So thank you, everybody, for your time. Enjoy the rest of the procurement fair. And thank you, panelists. Thank you, CAMSC. It was an honor and a pleasure to moderate this panel, and wishing everybody all the best in these unprecedented times.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great
All right.
job. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.